It's been a very tough year for South Africans who've been battling relentless power cuts, social upheavals and increased cost of living. The rot of corruption has also become rampant, with the Special Investigating Unit announcing that it has 13 billion rands worth of cases before its Special Tribunal. Well, let's reflect on the year that was as we approach its end. I'm joined now by Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana from the South African Council of Churches. Bishop, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on Today on ENCA. You know, as we begin, and I'm thinking, what a year. We started this year on the 1st of January with the funeral service of Archbishop Desmond Mpilo Tutu on the 1st of January. And the day after, on the 2nd of January, we had fire in our parliament, the first fire in our parliament, at least in the post-democratic era. And when you look back, for you, what are the events of this year that have stood out?
Well, you know, in your just now in your interviews, you've been citing quite a number of them, but I think that the departure of Archbishop Desmond, which, by the way, is a feature of our newsletter this year, which will be coming out on the anniversary of his departure on the 26th of December. You know, it's sort of he's the backdrop of our reflections. It's almost like saying his death is a challenge. Retired. I am truly retired, and we never believed him. Now, I think his actual physical departure from us. It's a challenge to the churches in South Africa, and especially those people that truly care for a South Africa of goodwill and success for all, to stand up and be counted. I want to talk in symbolic terms, but the burning of Parliament the day after his death, and I was in Cape Town for the funeral when I had this urgent call to go and watch the burning of Parliament. It was almost to say we are hoping for a new parliamentary system, that the old must go, and that we must have a parliament that's elected by people, and that therefore this electoral bill this year ought to be in a way to say we are going to build a new parliament, but it must also be differently populated with greater accountability to citizens, especially on a constituency basis as much as is possible, because this party representation ensures that there's no real accountability to the people of South Africa. So I think that the combination of Desmond Tutu's death and that with the burning of Parliament must be a call to say, can we now have a truly accountable and representative Parliament? I would imagine that would be the kind of message we would like to take out of those experiences. But the floods that came in April over a society and a province that had been devastated a lot by the looting of 2021 was something that's just so unbearable. And the people living the way they do, and the visits that were made, and the promises that were made, which have yet to be fulfilled. I'm happy to hear that by Christmas, those people that are living in a very inhuman way in those halls will be relocated by Christmas. That is a great, 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 great hope indeed. But also we should say that we are seeing something of a new phenomenon. We were seeing these thefts of cables all over the place, the train lines being looted. But I never thought it would come to a hospital, that somebody can actually come and not only feed their own greed, but endanger, in fact, if you like, create what would be a charge of attempted murder. Because if any of those people had died because of this, who would have been held accountable and responsible?
In fact, Bishop, Bishop, sorry to cut in there. In fact, we understand one person later died. One of the patients who was in the ICU, one of those later died.
Absolutely. Now, who killed that person? This is now not just attempted murder, it's actually a murder case. It really is so bad. we've been talking with the church leaders just recently about this other phenomenon of attacks, which also comes in 2022, of attacks on churches for people being robbed in churches. How are they going to feel free to celebrate Christmas Eve worship and the Christmas vigil? And so we have to appeal to police an unthinkable situation to keep an eye in the protection of churches, but also to have a greater vigilance on hospitals, because, I mean, this is the last thing we can afford, of people dying because of greed. In the same way that we saw with people stealing PPE money, and we have characterized this as saying it is actually grabbing ventilators off people who are gasping for breath.
Yeah, on corruption, you've touched on that. If you look back at this year, I mean, I don't know what is your view. Chief Justice Raymond Zondo concluded his state capture inquiry. The report was then handed over and it was presented to Parliament, and the President committed to fulfilling some of the recommendations regarding government. But we've seen some movement by the NPA, for example, and the likes of the SIU as they pursue some of what has come out of that state capture report. Did you get a sense that while we're battling with a lot of crime and lawlessness, at least when it comes to corruption, there is some action coming out of the state capture inquirer's recommendations?
We should certainly say that one of the highlights of 2022 has been the constant and consistent reports, positive reports of the SIU. They've done a sterling job. And I mean, the amounts of money they've already recovered, let alone those that are before them in their cases, is promising. But also this year, we've learned that with the Babita Deokaran's death, so much more information coming out, we have now come to understand and appreciate just the depth of the corruption in the procurement system in our hospitals. And I would not put it past that problem, what is happening at Bara this week. But apart from that, then I think we should celebrate that work is being done, but we need to see more people before the courts. We should see more people actually getting convicted, because if there are no big ticket convictions, you will find that this rot is going to spread like an unstoppable cancer. Right now in our society, hardly anything is available to people without a cost. Would you believe that people actually say, if you pay me 5,000 rand, I'll make sure that you get what you get faster than you would otherwise have got it. That's what people are telling us across the country.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes left, Bishop, with our time here, and I'm gonna ask you to use them to answer these two questions. What would you advise Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa to do regarding Phala Farm scandal? We saw the Parliamentary Independent Panel saying he has a case to answer to. He's taking it on review in the Constitutional Court. There are still questions around what actually happened, and that's one. What would you tell him to do? And thirdly, is there hope for us in 2023?
I'm going to end with the hope, because that's actually the most important thing. I want to say that I'm actually quite baffled by why it is so complicated to declare this Phala matter and bring it to an end. Because I mean, initially we were told that this money that is kind of underhand. Now we hear that somebody says, actually, I came with the money and I declared it at the airport and I bought these and they were not delivered to me because of COVID. Now I want out of the deal. Now, why is that not part of? Why does it appear to be so secretive? I don't understand. We were happy that the matter went to Parliament in the way that it did, even though we accept that that panel discussion was not conclusive. It needed more space for airing and discussion and evidence being tested. But we thought at the very least, Parliament is doing what it's supposed to do. But I don't think that it is all necessary. I think that it is possible for all of this to be clarified once and for all in a single statement. And I hope that at some point this will happen, so that we don't have this dragging over and over time. But I think that there is hope for next year. I say this because it's Christmas time. And Christmas time is time to celebrate the advent the arrival of God in Christ, who brings hope to society, who said, I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. You know what? South Africans are suffocating in poverty. What happened through COVID, where 2 million jobs were lost, but a lot of other people, 20 million people beyond those that were employed, became hopeless. We believe that the hope that is in Christ will work, provided we have the kind of economic transformation in society that absorbs the excluded majority, where we don't have 75% of young people without hope and without livelihoods. And I think that somehow 2023 must bring solutions that will make a difference in this regard.